But during the course of that, I fainted, passed out. Next thing I know, the doctor's looking at me. I ate the snack and the drinks or whatnot. And then, I proceeded to get ready to leave. And then again, in the hallway on the way out, went down again. The person that was with me didn't know what was going on. Got another doctor. Then I sort of just blacked out. Okay, in the last video, I started telling you about how I survived a liver transplant. Survived and now thriving. For those of you new to the channel, please like and subscribe if you dig the content. We got music, we got some therapy, even though I'm not a doctor, we got music, therapy, and motivation. Regarding my liver transplant, in the last video, I believe where I left off was being transported from one hospital to another for the actual procedure. Just to give you a quick refresher, I was at a hospital for an unrelated issue, and I guess my organs started shutting down. My liver started shutting down from years of alcoholism, over drinking, or functioning is what I used to like to say, because as long as I was getting money, as long as I was providing for my family and my kids, I felt like I was successful no matter how much I was drinking. And because of my lifestyle, it was a lot. I was involved and still am involved in the music business, music industry and music business. There's two different things, but that's a whole nother video. But involved heavily in the entertainment lifestyle in South Florida, Miami, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Boca Raton is where I spent a good portion of my adult life after relocating from Cincinnati. But back to the story, at this particular time, I was going through a lot of personal stuff, so the alcoholism kind of really came out, and I got to the point where I was no longer functioning. So I knew that I was getting sick. I knew, everybody knows what constant abuse of alcohol does to the organs, especially the liver if you're drinking liquor, and I was drinking whiskey pretty much every day. So as I was saying in the last video, I kind of remember being put into an ambulance or a transport vehicle, life, whatever the thing is called, because the hospital that I went down in, that I actually passed out in, and it was determined that I was going to die if I didn't get a liver, they weren't equipped to do any of this stuff. And like I said, I knew that I was heading down a bad road, and I knew that I was doing more harm to myself because of everything that I was going through at that time. You'll learn more about that if you watch my podcast series, Music Therapy and Motivation. But I remember, like I said, that day, it was just cold. It was February, like February 5th, 2020. And like I said, I was in Cincinnati at the time, and going from Mercy West, I'm supposed to be headed to UC. UC has one of the top transplant teams in the United States. So God was there. God was moving. Prior to this happening, I had been sober. Coincidentally, my body started shutting down after I stopped drinking liquor. So I managed to stop drinking liver spring, summer of 2019. But then the summer of 2019, my body really started to deteriorate. It's almost if my body got chemically dependent upon the whiskey and the liquor and the constant abuse of it. So I was trying to get myself in line for a transplant. But let me tell you, it's difficult to get an organ transplant unless somebody donates to you. And nobody's donating to somebody who blatantly uses their body for no good by dumping alcohol down your throat and damaging your liver. My MacBook died. Had to take a break, get a charge on my MacBook. Sorry about that, y'all. Well, I'm gonna edit it together so you won't even notice. No, I'm gonna leave the edit with no edits in, so that's what happened. So as I was saying, I was en route. I was en route from Mercy West, headed towards UC and their transplant team. I have been trying to get on organ donors list, transplant list, which is not an easy task, as I said, because if you don't have a living donor, you're just on the list. And guess what? They're not just giving out organs for people who abuse their own bodies. So, drinking heavily for 10 years straight, probably drinking every day. I know in the last few years, I didn't go a single day without a drink, waking up to shots. Not, like I said, I went from functioning alcoholic to full blown, just misstepping and just tripping and just fucking my shit up and fucking other people's shit up too. So, for those people that I've affected, I've made amends with most of you. If there's somebody that I didn't, if you're watching this video, I'm sincerely sorry. I apologize for any pain or damage that I caused you. Luckily for me, thank God, I was never behind the wheel in a drunk driving accident. I never hurt anybody in that respect, but emotionally, I know that I did hurt some people. So I apologize for that. So I'm in this ambulance and I'm pretty much out of it. Like I said, from the time I went down to the time they got me in the emergency room at Mercy West and I guess what they call intake, and put me in the hospital. So I spent a couple of days there with them examining me, find out. So anyway, back to this ride, man. I keep focusing on this ride because it just stays in my mind how cold it was, how uncomfortable I was. It was like I was floating to my death because, it was crazy uncomfortable in the back of an ambulance. Something, I guess, Cincinnati, Ohio roads. Like I said, it was February, so it's cold, and it was just this misty, just damp. It wasn't snow on the ground, I don't think. I don't remember snow. It just was mist, the gray mist, like when you watch those TV shows, like X-Files, Supernatural, stuff like that, where they film in Vancouver, so like it's always kind of cloudy, misty, dark, dank, damp, and I couldn't know. I'm a control freak, so I'm in and out of consciousness this entire time, not really knowing 100% what's going on. But when I'm awake, I'm trying to look out the window to see where we're going. I do understand at that time that I'm being transported to the UC medical facility because the transplant team there can better take care of me, and still, again, I'm not on the transplant list. So I've just been trying to get on the transplant list, which required me to, do a bunch of stuff, which I'll get into that too. But just this trip over. Now that trip over actually has inspired one of the last songs that I put out. Like I said, I'm a musician as well, so I put out a song called "The Dreamer," and that song just kind of comes from that. Portions of that song, elements of that song, come from this memory of this ride over. Like, my life is over. Like, this is it. I'm a Leo. I've got big energy. I got absolute A, type A personality, as they used to say. I'm like that, the ego brain mentality. So, I was always hard on myself, and I'm like losing control. I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to look out the window to see if they're going the right way. They're driving down roads that don't look familiar to me. So I'm scared, I'm fearful. And to the point where I don't even remember actually how they got there. And I'm familiar with the roads of the city, but I don't remember how I got there. And I barely remember even coming off of the ambulance and getting taken into UC. It's really, really, it's still kind of gray. It's kind of foggy because, I'm dying. My organs, my liver's shutting down. They're keeping me alive on, whatever machines at this point. I find myself waking up at UC. I think at that point, I think my wife told me that my parents were flying into the city, like took an emergency flight to fly into town where we were to be with me. So that right there, that's even more scary. If my father and my stepmother are flying in, it's like, they think it's the end. The doctors, I know damn well the doctors think it's the end, so I think it's the end. So, like I said, I'm not on any transplant list at this point. I had to do all the addiction courses, classes, see counseling and therapists and all that stuff. Like I said, but the great part was I was already doing therapy in 2019, and also, like I said, I was sober in 2019 before my body started shutting down. So I was already involved in getting some help for my addiction to alcohol. So I was doing addiction courses, classes, talking to people and doing that stuff. But this was a fast from August 2019 to this day. It just went by so fast. And during that time, I was in and out of the hospital probably every month between August of 2019 and February of 2020, just in and out of the hospital. I was in the hospital in, I think I got sick in Fort Lauderdale in August and came back to Cincinnati, immediately in the hospital. It just went on and on like that for a few months. So back to, I think it was either February 5th or February 6th of 2020. And at this point, I'm traveling, like, as some Jamaicans say that in the last moments of like an elder's life, they are conscious but unconscious. They say like they're traveling. And anybody that's West Indian or anybody Caribbean or from the islands can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But this is what I was told. But I was like traveling, so it's just think it like you're dreaming, but these were just not just like lucid. These weren't just your normal, crazy, wild, vivid dreams. These were. I was there. I could feel my soul or my spirit going from place to place, and I wasn't flashing back. I wasn't flashing back through moments of my life. I wasn't, my life flashed before my eyes. My life flashed. This was like a slow, like alcoholism and any type of addiction where you're doing damage to your body, you're doing damage to your soul. So you're slowly killing yourself. It's a slow suicide. I never thought I'd say that. I never thought I'd feel that way. But looking back on it now, that's what I was doing. I was slowly killing myself through a decade plus of alcoholism, just a slow suicide. So my life wasn't flashing. I was traveling. I was visiting to places I can't even identify on planet Earth, and I was meeting people who are not in my life, not from my past, maybe from my future, I don't know, but I was traveling and I was having experiences. It wasn't just my mind. I felt like my soul was roaming. And I wasn't like in the movies or the TV shows. I wasn't like looking down at my body, like an outer body experience like that. I was just present, and it was just a one-person journey. I wasn't looking down on myself. I wasn't looking like a fly on the wall, nothing like that. It's hard to put into words, but this is what I'm saying. I finally got the, I think, the doctors that I had already been seeing and trying to get to let me into this transplant program. I was working it, and there was a chance that I was going to get on the transplant list because I was doing everything that they required me to do from, I believe it was August 2019 until January of that 2020, right before the pandemic. Like I say, I was doing everything I was doing, but I still wasn't approved. You know what I mean? So I guess they're figuring out what they're doing. I do know that at one point, I recall my wife saying that I'm getting a liver. There's a transplant coming in. And in that moment, I barely remember that, just from basic recollection in our conversations. It's like, but I do know I kind of drifted right back off. Like I said, I was in and out of consciousness from that trip back from one hospital to the other. So at this point, I'm just thinking it's over. I'm not even at the point where I'm just pleading, like, give me another chance, give me another chance. Like I said, I was ego driven, type A personality dominance. And I didn't have any control anymore, and I'm a Leo. So, Leos, how we are. And literally, I take that literally, like I'm a lion. I've got 9 lives. But in this moment, I knew this was my last go. I knew this was my last go. I had survived shit that I can't even speak about publicly. I got myself into shit I won't speak about publicly. I've survived shit that I should not have. But this one, I knew, I felt, I'm not coming back from this one. This is my last life of 9 lives of a lion, of a cat, of an egomaniac, arrogant, dominating, masked under success, good money earning, and all the portrait picture shit. My 9 lives are up. And I wasn't even praying in that moment. I just knew. But God came through.